OptionsHouse. Jumpin' Joe, how you doing this morning?
Feeling pretty good about my tax dollars being at work for what is it? Civil services?
Yeah, why? What happened?
Well, we had our special guest last Friday, Bruce Kennedy. Was staying at an extended stay America here in Southfield, and in the 5 days he's been here, the hotel has caught on fire twice.
I refuse to believe that.
Well, Bruce doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would call you at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to lie. So, the first fire was in the room right next door to his. It was a grease fire that the tenant threw water on, so of course it spread and everyone had to evacuate. And then last night's apparently started in the laundry facilities, and about the same time of the night. So, I'm gonna have to call and see about getting that comped today.
Well, this stock is on a technical breakdown here. Maybe when someone was.
Oh, that's right. That's Sandy Tango Alpha Yankee Extended Stay America.
Stay. Nice ticker
NYSE
symbol.
Stay. And we were discussing a little brief history about Extended Stay America. There was a little debate with Dennis here, who turned out to be correct.
I knew that. I
Blackstone.
used to trade that thing. It used to be ESA way back in the day, and I was like, but they took it private, and I didn't even realize it was trading
That's
anymore.
right.
But
Went
they took it
private.
private, and then they brought it back public.
That's right. It went private in 2004. Blackstone took it private in May 2004 to form a new company. And then in 2007, Extended Stay Hotels was sold to Lightstone Group for $8 billion, one of the biggest non-casino hotel deals in history. On June 16th, 2009, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the company intends to keep operating all its properties through bankruptcy. And then Extended Stay America was brought out of bankruptcy by an investment group including Blackstone, Paulson and Company, and Centerbridge Partners in October 2010.
So Blackstone flipped them. They took them. They took them private, then took them public, and then after they went bankrupt again, they bought them again. Is that, or am I? Did I hear that incorrectly?
This sounds like Property Brothers or one of those love it or list it things gone horribly wrong.
When did it go public? Because I don't have that much trading info on this. I think it just went public last year, right? Like it started trading. It looks like near the end of 2013.
Yeah. Yep. November of 13. It opened at 22.75. I mean, if anybody's trading this dog here,
A
20.
dog. Why is it a dog? Tell me why it's a dog.
Because we had a guy in from out
That's
of
the
town
hotel
and the whole cut on fire.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's okay. 2 times in 5 days. I mean,
That's okay. Stuff happens.
maybe they should find locations next to fire stations or something. I mean,
Or just have like fire safety on staff.
well, tell him about Bruce though. He's kind of like a guy that's like ready to go, right? He's
Bruce,
always,
yeah. So Bruce lives with a certain degree of paranoia always. So after the first fire, he told me when he's staying in a hotel, he says he just always has his stuff ready to go. He doesn't unpack. He says once he heard the fire alarm, and then of course the sprinkler system went off, but they were broken, so it was like, what did he call? I think he said a waterfall. So he says he's outside within 5 minutes with soaked boots, and but everything was safe. Well, this last incident last night, apparently he had to book it out of the hotel, and all of his so they're going through the rooms, and they saw all of his auto show literature in the room. They go, "Hey, you been to the auto show?" Oh, and he lost a toothbrush. That was the last update I
well,
got.
tell him to put that on the expense report for Jason. But there's only Bruce. If you're out there listening, I certainly hope you're not taking a plane home that was made by Boeing.
Crickets.
Did they have a fire in one of their planes
Crickets.
yesterday? They had a
Now,
fire.
come on,
Might
you
as
gotta
well
give
say-
Boeing the
might
break
as
there.
well
They're
say,
down
don't-
to $80 a share. It's at
No,
140
no,
now. With the
they had
planes
one
are catching on
yesterday,
fire.
Dennis. They had a fire yesterday.
Did they have another one yesterday?
Is it
That was the
Southwest
talk,
could land?
Dennis.
Southwest could land in the wrong airport. He could rent a Tesla rental car. Could catch on fire. Anything could happen to this guy.
You got to buy all these things that catch on fire, because we know the Boeing back in the day when they were having the plane fires, that was when it was at $70. It doubled in the last year doing that. And obviously Tesla, we saw what it can do. So cars catch on fire. Doesn't matter there. It's up another $5 here this morning. So
Uh,
maybe it's the play to buy these things that catch on
are
fire.
you designing a new system or that is looking for like fight? You're gonna like follow.
You might write an algorithm to search the market for things that are catching on fire to buy them. Maybe that would work. I mean, there's definitely some stats there to support that. So there's some
Boeing
stats.
did dip though.
It spiked down like
It
a
spiked
percent.
down. Yeah, it spiked down to 137.80, and then just as I was looking at it to see where a potential buy point was, it bounced right off 137.80, the same level as did on January 6th. So great double bottom there in place if you're looking to trade Boeing shares. But Dennis, we are also talking about that in your face rally yesterday, and I know you were hunkered down with the puts and short and
Yep.
spider yesterday.
Yep.
What made you turn things around? I know you said that you covered your shorts and
Yeah.
your puts, but you didn't get long. What was the trigger? What made you head for the hills?
I look at the pricing action in the first 15 minutes of trade. The most information that you can gather is the trading from 9:30 to 9:45 and watch the pricing action. Price don't lie. I was looking for follow through. We opened up somewhat higher. I shorted into that open because I was suspecting we might have a 2-day move. It was giving me 4 or 5 points, so I sold the SPY. I sold a bunch of other stocks short. So I was net short pretty good. I had put spot even on the SPY from the day before, so on the weekly. So I was very, very bearish actually on that open when we were up 5 points. It was at 1821 on the S&P futures. And then we went down to 1816. Everything was looking, pretty good. I was like, okay, this is what I expected. We're going to give back the gains. We're going to start going negative. But then I was watching the individual components, and I was seeing different stocks start to find bids. Obviously, Google was trading higher with the upgrade, but it had sold off $10 right off the bat. But then it was finding some life, and Apple was finding some life. And then there was other things going down, and it's like a Christmas tree. I was looking at my board. I have like literally 200 stocks, top S&P components on my board, and they're starting to light up green everywhere and starting to go in different sectors. I was like, man, those buy the dip guys are coming in here again. This one we were at 1816. So I started covering everything. I actually got everything covered by the time we got back to 1819, and I got out of all my shorts. Of course, being the idiot that I am, I had already identified that we were looking strong and the buy the dip crowd was back again, but I don't go long. I literally just covered all my shorts, and I was thankful. I actually made some money still on my shorts, despite that being definitely on the wrong side of the market. And obviously, we just continued to rally from there, and it was just gone. The market rallied another 20 points. So if I would have reversed, and I actually got long all that stuff, it would have been a really awesome day. But it was a day where I was dead wrong with my call, and I actually still made some money. So if you can identify that early pricing action, and by watching the individual components, it often helps me as well.
Yeah, and I was just discussing with Brent because what happened was there was a little bit of fundamental news that came out. Brent, what was that 10 o'clock number?
That was business inventories. It wasn't a huge data point, but I mean, nonetheless, kind of had a little something to say to the market.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the chart here, where Dennis is talking about that data point came out at 10 o'clock, and I looked, I turned my head, I'm like, you had asked me, you'd Skype me, and you said, where should I cover my short? And I was like about to type in settlement, to see if we can get to the close, and it just had that immediate 3-point pop. And then it didn't settle back off there.
I had already covered at that point because you got tied up. So I had sent you that message about 5 minutes after the open because I was already getting up, and I was like, where do you think the next level is on the SPY? I wanted a level from Joel there. He's usually pretty good on the levels. And then you were thinking settlement. We didn't quite get there, but the pricing action and the individual components was telling me that the buy the dip crowd was coming back in. And I was thinking that they were going to take the day off. I was thinking they were going to be nervous. I thought maybe we'd get some follow through and the buy the dip crowd would maybe, pause for a day. I still figured they'd come in. They came in right yesterday with their buying shoes on. They saw a pullback. Everybody is invested in this market. And the same story. We get one down day where we're down 1.5%, and everybody wants to buy that dip.
Right. And also joining the rally were crude futures. And nice formation here. And looking back on the January 9th, 91.24 was the low. And then you came back down there on Monday and Tuesday, 91.43, 91.50. Kind of, set you up for a swing trade perhaps, and that area hold. Because, if you're buying at 91.5, 91.75, even 92, you're giving yourself a buck on the downside if it takes out the low of the move. Now we got a spirited rally going on. Got up to 93.20. Let's see if we can get foul through there. I see another level, 93.38. Dennis, have you ever traded crude futures?
I don't usually trade the crude futures. No, I'm a big equities fan, so I usually stick to the individual components.
Okay. Okay.
But I do see on the technicals there, obviously that whole 91.5 area there is looking like a potential double bottom in place. So there is a setup there. If you can start getting above 93, then all bets are off.
Okay. And gold is getting ready to, what in the bet again, huh? Doesn't it look like that here? Failed at the 1250 level, gave you a couple days of consolidation there, tight ranges, and now it looks like we're heading south again.
Yeah, same thing here. When the market starts to get strong, everybody comes out and they start selling gold. So, I mean, you need a catalyst. And obviously, gold got a little bit of life there with the market weakness just a couple days ago. But now the market turns around on a dime. The buy the dip crowd comes back and they're selling gold here again. So, but keep in mind, we are coming up on the S&P futures. What's the high this year?
1846.50. No, actually, that was the high on the 31st. The 31st high was 1846.50. We sold off right on the second. Still, this whole 18. We had been discussing this 1820 to 1840 channel, and we busted through it by a good 10 points. We went down to 1809.50, but basically the entire year, this entire time, we've stayed between 1820 and 1840. Now you're coming up on the upper edge of that boundary again. I'm still going to use this 1840 number. I see a high at 1842.50. But until we get up and close above this 1840 level, you still got to look like a consolidation here in the middle of the earnings season.
Yeah, we're still in obviously a trading range here. It's been a tight trading range. And we do have resistance up here. You've identified that area here. I kind of feel like we're eventually going to break out and start making new highs here again. Just shocking that the buy the dip crowd was coming in as hard as they were there yesterday, which makes me think any pullbacks here are still going to be bought again. So honestly, I still think the path to least resistance is higher for pretty much everything except gold. Like look at Google yesterday. We were talking about it in the pre-market yesterday. We thought, it might give some back, which it immediately did. It opened up right into the 1138, 1139 area, immediately gave back 10 points. But then just started finding buyers there and turned around and made new all-time highs once again. Actually, this morning, you've got who's raising the price? Who initiated the buy there? Was it
Someone
Namira?
initiated a buy here? Oh, my gosh.
Was it Namira?
Yes, no mirror.
Yeah, Namira initiates a buy, $1,300 price target here on the stock, so it's up another $3.60, 11.53. I mean, Joel, you got it. The momentum. That's the basically the stock is just that's the momentum right now, and momentum market we are in. Stocks that are strong get stronger. Stocks that are weak get weaker, and so I don't totally argue that play that 1,300 play. I mean, all the way up. The stock just continues to take out and new highs and make new highs. People thinking 1,000 is going to be the top. No. People think 1,100 is going to be the top. No. People are saying 1150 is probably going to be the top. Well, maybe not. So it's hard to just argue here. Google just continues to march.
Okay, and look, I guess we were both kind of right and kind of wrong. I was talking about intraday short on it. Well, it did do that, and it came back down. And you were right when you talked about the longer-term trend, and it definitely proved out on the long side here, busting out. I don't know, target 2,000 or something like that. But what about this wild child, huh? ICPT all over the map again today.
Holy cow, that thing is just insane. It's everywhere. Obviously, the big drug news goes all the way up to $497 in 2 days. Rallies 200 points. Next day rallies another 200 points. Just punishes anybody that even thought about shorting that stock or writing options on it. All the way back down, though, in 2 days. Falls 240 points. Gets down as low as 235 yesterday. Settles at 255. It is popping a little bit here this morning. We're up 18 points. I say a little bit. Seems like a lot when you say stock's up 18 points, but this thing seems to move around 50 or 100 points every day. It is popping because Bank of America coming out this morning. They were reiterating their $872 price target and keeping their buy rating on the stock here. So they're not concerned here with the recent sell-off.
Now these price targets, and Brent, maybe you can weigh in on this. Is this something that they're looking for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year? I mean, what are the time frames on some of these prices?
Generally, they're 1 year. I think Goldman Sachs does like a 6 month target, but for the most part, you're going to see about a 1 year. There's also a scenario where an analyst will lay out a bull case and also a bear case, and then I think there's even a couple firms that will do like a 1 year target and then give you also a 5 year target. So anytime you guys are sort of razzing the analysts, they can always say, well, my price target's not for right now, it's for in 1 year from today.
Right.
And
Well,
then they'll change the price target 6 months later, so they'll be on. They
Yeah,
always
but
chase price those
but
analysts.
by then you probably would have forgot about them anyway. So
okay. I don't. Maybe they're doing it based on the technicals here, because that stock did come down to 235 yesterday. Your gap up day was 231.31. So I mean, I don't know. 4 points in a stock like this, maybe it's a double bottom. So if you're trying to play this thing as a swing trade and you're identifying this, 230 area, because if it breaks below there, I mean, there's nothing but air, obviously, to fill the gap all the way down to 76.21. Also, you have to imagine that all the people that just got carried away, shorting this thing, on the way up, coming back down. What did we hit a high of 497 on Friday? Come back down to 235. I mean, whether you're shorting 50 shares, 100 shares, 1,000 shares, or whatever, it's you have to cover at some point. And 231. If you were holding out for that number, 231.31, you didn't get it. Low 235. Coming back on the upside. I mean, I guess you could figure a retracement between 497 and 235. What's that? 260 points, so 130
That's
point move.
crazy.
Yeah, but
It's trading off headlines right now. I mean, an analyst could come up, upgrade this thing tomorrow, be up another 50 points right now. Very hard to trade something like this technically when there's so much fundamental stuff going on. The sympathy play with this one, though, which I have been playing a little bit, is GALT, Galectin Therapeutics, not moving around hundreds of points, but it's a stock that went from $9 to 18 on this news and all the way back down to 12. So if you look and you put those charts relative to each other, it's not moving quite as much, but it's still getting a lot of volatility there. There's an update this morning from GALT, just reading my Benzinga Pro. Galectin Therapeutics supports investigational new drug application for its galectin inhibitor, GRMD02, in metastatic melanoma. So there's a lot of jargon there for me, not being chemist here and, and looking at all this stuff. But regardless, it's good for the stock because it's trading up 60 cents. Price don't lie. Up 5% here this morning.
Series, since I made that 1788 high, you've had two lower highs and two lower lows and two lower closes. So need that trend to be broken here before I get too excited about this one. Looking at the pre-market trading hit 13 bucks. So kind of when you have a big move up in stocks like this and get in vacuum areas, I think you got to kind of go back to the whole number theory, as something to keep an eye on. And coming into play here in Galectin Therapeutics, and $13, we are 35 cents off that. So if you're looking for a target on the upside or potential short, that'd be a level to keep an eye on.
Well, we haven't talked about the big earnings here today, and it is Bank America BAC trading up 50 cents right now at 17.31.
50 cents? Oh my
50 cents, 50 cents, 29 cents versus 27. So they beat on the earnings, 21.49 billion versus 21.28 billion. So beat on the top, beat on the bottom, and the stock is off to the races here. What's the high, Joel? After hours high, we're probably pretty close to it.
1734.
Okay, so we're right there. We're right at the pre-market highs here. This obviously is a new high on the move. Bank America is really starting to come back here. Obviously, this last year, it's went from 11 to 17, and then 2012 was a good year too. We bought them in the financial crisis on this one at $2.53 when everybody thought it was going out of business with Lehman Brothers and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all the other fun stuff that was happening back then. Well, this one stayed alive, and it's starting to come back. It's not back as much as some of the others, but it's trying.
Obviously, you can't bank there, right? Because being over there in Canada. But I have quite.
I have a Bank America account in the States. What are you talking about? I got a Bank of America account as well. I can have U.S. accounts.
Okay.
So
All
being
right.
a Canadian, so I actually do have a Bank of America account.
Okay, all right, strike that from the record, Dennis. I'm just saying, over the last couple years, just I like the culture there. I think that during the financial crisis, they really tried to tighten the belt, and I mean, every time I go in there to do something, I mean, there are like 3 or 4 people on me, just like, can I help you? How's the service? Just being, just offering customer service. I mean, I don't like their ATMs are a little bit slow. You try and get money out of them, you're in a hurry, and I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're double counting the money or whatever. But I didn't let my enthusiasm for the customer service parlay into the stock, but they really changed the culture there, and the stock has responded. Warren's in this, right? Didn't Warren pick up a boatload at like $6, $7? That was a while ago. That was like in 2011, 2000. He had the idea in the
He
bathtub.
was buying on the way down, and he took some heat, but it's come back now.
No, he did. I think in 10 or 11, I remember he got
He
the
did more.
idea.
Oh yeah, he did do something
Yeah, he
afterwards.
got
You're
the
right.
idea when he was in the bathtub drinking a Diet Coke.
Yeah, that's right. I do
Yeah.
remember that story. He was on
Mhm.
CNBC. I'm in the bathtub drinking a Coke, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'll offer Bank of America some preferreds that's or 7% or something." I don't know. He got some hell of a yield on it, anyways. So I'll lend Bank of America some big money here and get a ridiculous yield back. So and
But
they accepted it.
I could show the daily charts, and it looks, really, really super bearish. And then, well, to you, it'd probably look bullish. But then if you go to the monthlies, you're thinking, holy smokes, man, I still got plenty of time to buy this thing, right? All-time high, way up there in the 50s. But 1815 was the high back in May of 2010. We all remember that, what was going on at that time. But I'm going to throw out a special question here. Okay, Bank America was started out as bought by another bank, a small Southern bank that purchased Bank America. They just started buying up, but probably got a little bit too big. And I used to trade the stock quite a bit when I was on the desk in Oldie. Can anybody name the original bank that ended up purchasing Bank America? Is anybody in the chat? I'll give you guys a.
And what they do? They then spun it off afterwards.
No, no, no. This bank had another name. They were kind of a equal bank, not as big on the East Coast. I'm giving hints here. And they bought Golden. Wasn't there Golden West Financial? There was a couple. They started just buying up, a lot of the other banks. And I'll let you guys Google it and find out the answer. But anyways, 1805. We're still quite a ways away from 1815. That was the May of 2010. Hi, Dennis. Are you inclined to short this thing a little bit? Isn't this a big move in the pre-market for Bank America?
Not on earnings. I'm not going to play it until it digests. And that's what we were saying off the bat. You got to wait that first 15 minutes, get a feel for the tape. Usually, if I'm making a call on something, like, and I'm, throwing my opinion out there, I want to see it working for me in the first 15 minutes. And if it's not working for me and it starts moving the other way, that's when you know you're on the wrong side of the trade. So and DSW was bringing up actually a good point here in the chat too. He was saying, "Oh, you guys had a rough day yesterday. You were leaning to the short side," and he was he's only listened to the show one day and was saying, we're not very good at this market calling thing. I hope you give us another chance here at DSW, because we were leaning the wrong way yesterday. But we're always just throwing out ideas. Obviously, we don't give recommendations here on the show, but we're always throwing out ideas there. And sometimes those ideas can't be right. We always, as traders, live in the percentages. We're not going to be right 100% of the time. We're not going to be wrong 100% of the time. A good trader, like I've been with a prop firm, Bright Trading, they teach us your edge is 55% to 45%. If you can be right 55% of the time and 45% of the time, you will make a ridiculous amount of money in this game. That's what they teach you. So you want to be right just a little more than you're wrong, or you want to be a little bit bigger winners than, and it's all about obviously cutting your losses and knowing when you're on the wrong side of the trade. Just like we were leaning a little bit bearish on the show yesterday, won't lie to you. I was even coming in short, so I was even putting my money where my mouth was. But by identifying early and seeing that the trade wasn't working for me, I get out. So it's all about cutting those losers when you can cut those losers, and we're realizing as soon as you can when you're on the wrong side of the trade.
Okay, that's good. What else are we gonna? What other?
J Dot's saying it's SunTrust. Was it SunTrust?
No, I can't believe you guys haven't Googled this and been able to figure it out.
Yeah, Google usually tells all. I thought trivia died with Google, didn't it?
And you guys on the desk can't say because I mentioned it the other day. Okay, all right.
Oh, Wachovia Jared was asking Wachovia.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, well,
Nope.
keep the guesses coming, boys.
Okay. What? Any
We do
other?
have some sympathy moves here. Bank America obviously is giving a lift to a lot of the other financials. Citigroup, who is going to report on Thursday, is lifting up ahead of these earnings of Bank America's. It's up at 54.65 here this morning, went out at 53.95. So Citigroup trading up 70 cents.
Okay. Let's take a look at. Wow, 70 cents. That's not as big a move, I guess, a comparative basis here. Looking at the pre-market trading, we've topped out at 54.75, just kind of hanging up there, not really pulling back. A little bit resistance at the 54.66 level. That was a high on Monday, but after that, things open up to over 55. 55.28's been the high of the move. I just want to digress a little bit from this, or just go back to yesterday and discuss the trading action in Wells Fargo. Had a nice range in the pre-market, and we were just trying to find some levels to look at in the pre-market. Pre-market low was 44.90. And lo and behold, it did come
Yep.
down to 44.92. So if you could identify that buyer, good for you, because that he was there in the pre-market, or she was there in the pre-market, and then also during the regular session. Then also, what I noticed is the former lows were at 45 and a half, and you got some pretty good range in there. Bounced off there a few times, but then it finally got the momentum. Closed above that area. So there's just a point where, you don't necessarily have to trade in the pre-market, but if you use the pre-market as parameters, sometimes it can help you identify lower risk entries and potential exit points.
And that's exactly it. That 44.90 level that you cited was right on the button because it gets to 44.92 in the regular session. So you usually don't see it come within 2 cents of its pre-market high. But that's why we like to log the highs. And we like to tell you guys on the show what the pre-market high is, what the pre-market low is, what the after hours high, the after hours low. We like to cite that stuff because those levels that came into play during those sessions can come into play in the regular session
And
as
then
well, especially on some of these volatile stocks.
And also, going back to the low for the year. The low for the year was 44.91, and that was made on January 2nd. And then on the 3rd, you had a low at 44.98. So someone that probably really wanted to buy a large amount of shares at 45, let it dip under 45, sucker in all the short-term scalpers and stuff, and then they come in and sweep the book up to 45, and now we're trading at 45.90. I believe the all-time high for this issue. One of the only bank issues that is making all-time high, 46.20 is the all-time high. So we'll keep an eye. That will be a level in Wells Fargo today.
Just want to make one other point, which you were making there. Stocks will often trade through the whole numbers because a lot of times the market makers know that's where people put their stops. They'll say, gets under 45, get me out. So a lot of times you'll see a stock bottom 5-10 cents below a big whole number because it wants to go out there, it wants to hit those sell stops to get, obviously, that stock. And then, they obviously can get some more as well. So you will often see stocks trade through whole numbers by a nickel or a dime and then reverse. So keep that in mind, just a general trading tip there if you're trading stocks. Joel, we got some news here in the 3D sector again last night. XONE 3D printing stock warns 2013 sales guidance is they're giving it is 40 to 42 million. Analyst estimates were up at 50 million. They halted the stock right after the close pending that news. That news comes out, and they started obviously whacking the stock. They were whacking the other ones in the sector too. This is the second. So basically yesterday, 2 of those 3D printing stocks warned. SSYS, remember, warned pre-market yesterday, and they were killing that stock, knocking it down over 10 points or over 10%. And XONE is the second one to warn now. The only one that hasn't warned is Triple D, DDD, but I guess they're thinking it's going to warn because they are knocking that stock down $4 here this morning as well.
The initial spike, that news came out after 4 o'clock. They took it down to 50.02, and we've got a nice rebound here, really settling in now at the $54 area. Currently trading at the high of the pre-market session, 54.70. I see a spike up to 56, but I think that just might have been an odd lot there. So Looks like they're going to protect that pre-market low here. You traded as low as 50, and now you're bouncing up. If you look at the charts on a longer term basis,
50 was huge, man. If you
yeah,
were sitting out there buying that at 50.02 after hours last night, congratulations. That level, absolutely enormous. It just jumps out. And that's what we look at these levels. What level jumps out at you and bites you in the nose? If you look from the trading from October, the entire month of October, we bought them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 times in the $50 area. Came back down in November to 50, 55 to test it. That held. Came back down in December, just above the 50 handle at $51. So all kinds of support in the lower 50s. It kind of, bounced a little bit far here now, though.
yeah, I don't know if I'd bet this one if I'd be touching it here. I mean, I guess if it started to pull back towards that $50 area, you got to figure people are gonna, after being up over at 70 and come back down to that $50 area. Uh, all the way down, I think you'll see layered buyers. I think the worst is over. And then your initials, Triple D, DDD, 3D Systems. This thing had really been high. Is it near the $90 level, or did they already just obliterate that?
They've whacked it down. It's at $87 right now.
Okay, that 90 was holding up for quite a while here. So any
Big
kind,
technical
yeah,
breakdown.
yeah, any kind of break rally up to 90, and that's going to be sellers going to be lying up there. Hit eight, not even at yesterday's low. So here's a play, perhaps 84.07 was
Yep.
yesterday's low. Low so far in the pre-market after hours. Didn't even get there. So 3D is holding up a lot better than
It's held up a lot better than all the other ones because if you look at the charts here, obviously XONE is approaching levels that we were trading back 3 months ago. SSYS, with the beating it took, is approaching levels or was approaching levels that from 3 months ago. But Triple D, not even close to where it was 3 months ago. 3 months ago it was in the 50s and 60s. Things still up in the 90s. So obviously maybe this is best of breed just holding on here. And they're the only one that haven't warned yet. So 84.07 yesterday's low. We want to see that hold for the bulls to at least have a case here in 3D systems.
Is Chris still in this one? I know he because maybe we can get him on the horn tomorrow or whatever, because he bases a lot of his trades and the long-term options on the fundamentals. Now the fundamentals are changing here a little bit.
I'm not sure if he's in 3D. He had some plays going on, wasn't it? I think he was in SSYS maybe at one time. But
Okay, okay.
I think he's probably. I haven't heard him talk about that one for a while. I talk to Chris usually a few times a day, and I haven't heard him talk about those ones lately. So not sure if he's still in that or not, but I'll ask him today. General Motors has had a lot of news here after the bell. Right after the bell last night, they declared their first dividend since the whole restructuring, 30-cent quarterly dividend. That made the stock pop significantly. It was popping up in a 41 handle on that news. Then this morning, they pulled the wool over our eyes. They're seeing unchanged financial earnings for this year. So everybody got excited saying, oh, they got dividends, things going well at General Motors. And then they come out this morning and say, but the earnings aren't going to be any better. Not good for the stock. They knocked it back down now, and it's trading actually down here, 35 cents at 39.64. So it's been a wild after-hours ride. 3.6 million shares have traded here just this morning
that's
on General Motors.
That's huge. Someone is staking
Major volume.
Yeah, major volume. When the good news came out earlier this morning, popped up over the $41 level, 41.38, 41.26. If you're looking at the dailies here, it did pop over $41 a few times. Did get a little bit higher. Let's see where we got to. We got to 41.85 on one spike, and then 41.44 was the high in the following day. Didn't quite get to those levels, so if you'd been holding out for those levels, you wouldn't have got them. Only had one close over 41. But now you're open into an interesting area. You have the lows from the last two sessions here, 39.44 and 39.57. So even after this wild ride, you are opening into support here. Maybe the longer-term players are going to look past this quarter here and trying to scoop the stock up. If, in fact, that 39.50 level doesn't hold, you got another low at 50 cents lower at 39 even. That's been the low for the year.
Hey, Joel.
Talk about.
Joel,
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, real quick, pull up the chart on Riverbed, Romeo, Victor, Bravo, Delta. Company just issuing some preliminary figures. Looks like they boosted their Q4 guidance, also providing some Q1 guidance in the range of 21 to 23 cents on EPS, and the street is right at 23 cents. Stock initially spiked to almost 21 bucks. Now we're sitting around 20.39.
River,
I like that chart.
you do?
I like that chart. Yeah, I like that where you had the big spike up. You consolidated for 4 days here now, and now it's starting to get some gas. And basically, it sounds to me like is that like a guidance raise? Is that what you're saying there, Brent? They're guiding higher here, or are they reporting the actual results?
They are guiding for Q1 and they're giving the preliminary Q4 numbers. So, I mean, they're essentially reporting them, but it's still a range there. So, I mean, I kind of treat preliminary figures as guidance.
Pre-market high here. Whew, got almost to $21. Got to 20.98 and have a big decline off that down to 20.23. So, if you're looking for to a sell or a potential short here, based on the pre-market trading, 20.98 has been the high. Looking at that from the perspective of the daily charts, kind of getting into uncharted territory here. Did come up against the $20 level not too long ago. Actually, you got to go out to early in 2013. This thing traded up in the mid-20s, 2052, 2056. So let's see. That's going to be an area. Haven't been up there for a year. That's your initial resistance point, and then the pre-market high here. Jared is chiming in here. He likes these high-yielding stocks, and I've been watching this stock for
Just
a
before
while.
we go to that, I just want to make a couple points here on the riverbed, Joel, before
Okay,
we move
sorry,
on.
sorry.
Because RVBD here, let it digest though, because you've obviously got just news just breaking here at 8:31, so 5 minutes ago. You need to let it digest and figure out where it wants to go here. We always say, if you're trading the pre-market, it's very, very dangerous. I always say use the pre-market information that you gather from that to make more informed calls during the regular session. The stock's high has been 2029. Let this information digest. Make sure that they do like this. It looks like they're guiding higher. So, when you're just taking and just looking at the numbers here, it looks pretty good. And obviously the stock's responding quite well here so far, but we want to see that response continue during the regular session. I want to see this thing in the regular session get above 2050 and start finding some buyers. And the most information you'll get is in that first 5 minutes of trading. So if you're trading this puppy, watch the first 5 minutes of action. She opens up higher and starts giving it back right away, then not as good as if it opens lower and starts to run. So keep that in mind if you're trading the stock. Joel, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, sorry about that. EXC, this is a stock. I can remember one of our traders talking about this with him a while ago. I believe his grandma's in the stock, and it's like a high-yielding, very high-yielding utility. And man, this thing that chart just looks terrible, Dennis. He's maybe looking at it, ready for a comeback, or it can continue to go down. I don't know what's plaguing this company here, but
It's just the fact that it's a utility is probably plaguing it more because everybody has been selling stuff, conservative investments like utilities, and been buying growth. We've been in a 2-year ridiculous bull market here, and everybody wants 20-30% returns. They don't want to sit and hold for a 4.6% return, and stocks like this have just been drifting down. I mean, look at the Southern Company, SO. Look at DT Energy, DTE. These stocks have been underperformers here really in the last couple of years because everybody else is moving into higher yield not higher into higher growth stocks. It's just rotation is what it is. And I think the stock's probably more of a victim of the rotation than anything.
yeah, but some of these other stocks have, DTE, good old Detroit Eddie here. I would say yes, I'd agree with you. This thing has come off the 72, 73 level. It's come off quite a bit, but it still had a really nice run in 2013. Where this EXC, didn't. I mean, there must be a utility company that's like not selling any power or something. I just
Well, DT maybe was a bad example. Same sector, it's actually performed. But look at the SO chart. Bring that one up.
yeah.
Because that's the same type of deal. It was 48 bucks in 2012. Sold off 2012, right a little bit there in the beginning of 13, and gave it all back. And now it's sitting back down here near 1, 2, 3. I'm just
Yeah.
looking near 2.5-year lows.
Yeah. And
So
what
so I think it still is a sector thing more than anything.
okay. All right, so we're saying,
But
hey, I mean, it is forming it's trying to put a bottom in your here. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but it's done this on so many different occasions. It's look like, okay, yeah, we're bottoming at 30. No, no, we're bottoming at 29. No, we're gonna bottom just below 28. No, I mean, it just seems unless there's some kind of fundamental information or something that comes out. I mean, I think it's just, I mean, you have to expect it to continue to go down.
yeah, well, and that's the trend. We've been in this trendy market. If the market's up another 25% this year, this stock is probably not going to be higher. If the market starts to actually, so this can actually move counter to the market
Okay.
here just because it is defensive, almost like gold a little bit. The only thing this has is, they are nice yield, 4.61%. So that, helps to put a floor in too. Because when these utilities start getting under 5%, the value investors come and start scooping them up there too. So I don't think this thing's going to be down like $20 here if the market's up 30%. But if the market goes to turn and we actually do, get a down year here, stocks like this could come into favor. So you can almost look at the overall market and use them as indicators for stocks like this as well.
Okay. All right. We got a few more minutes here before we have Anka on. We haven't talked about the big dog Apple lately. Getting a nice pop here in early trading. Will the run continue?
Well, it's continuing here this morning. We had a nice pop there yesterday. Obviously, right off the bat, they started finding buyers in this thing. It opened kind of weak and then just started running here for the last, really, 2 days here. Apple's been kind of coming back here nicely. And we're up another $7.80 here this morning. Couple headlines there. Tim Cook was on CNBC yesterday giving some commentary, and that was helping the stock to lift. And then Wall Street Journal had a headline saying that Q4 or Q1 iPhone sales in China are going to be at record highs. So that's not hurting the stock either, and the stock's getting a nice lift, $7 here this morning.
We were higher, 556.97, over $3 higher. Keep an eye on that as a possible trading level. That coincides nicely with the high for the year, 557.03. So there you have. You have your high on the second, 557.03. You have a pre-market high of 556.97. That is going to be good resistance today, if in fact it gets back up there.
Brent's talking in the chat about CHTP, which is your big winner of the day. It's up 150%. It seems like one of these pharmaceutical/biotech companies is up 150% every day. I guess today is CHTP's day. It was halted all day yesterday, halted pending news. Hasn't traded since the 13th, when obviously they were thinking that this drug might not be that good. Brent, what's the story here?
All right, so actually, yeah, this is normal for a stock like Chelsea Therapeutics to be halted as a an FDA advisory panel is coming, and that's just what happened yesterday. The vote was very favorable. I think it was 16-1 in favor of FDA approval. Now remember that this is a recommendation by an FDA panel. This is not by the FDA. The FDA can either adhere to the recommendation of the panel or not. So, I mean, there was some concerns about this one. If you just look at the chart, you can see there, big move lower on, what was that, Friday?
Yeah, look at that thing. Holy
Crushed it.
mackerel. Yeah, crushed it, made a double bottom there.
I guess they thought the FDA panel wasn't going to recommend approval. The market leaning the wrong way on this one. Doesn't look like a lot of insider trading here. Looks like a lot of people making the wrong bet.
Insider losing here.
Insider
Let's see
losing.
here. This is all-time highs for the issue, so the only thing we can really go on is the pre-market
Actually,
trend.
not all-time highs. 2010, bite your lip there, Joel. We got up to $8. So,
Okay.
but three-year highs.
Yeah, 623 is the high in the pre-market. We've pulled back under the $6 level. So keep an eye on 623 if we're looking for a target on the upside. If this thing opens up and opens up at 6 and can't maintain that $6 level, I think I might have to reevaluate, because I certainly want to see it fall down and start to get into that gap area. But I don't know, 152%. I don't think it has a chance of that happening today.
What was that one that was popping yesterday, Joel, at GGB? He was saying he made some money on and made a good trade. What was that?
It was
OPTT?
It was a short.
Yeah, OPTT, and
Think
it
it
was
has
one
it.
that was actually opening up. We had seen, and you had been mentioning, Joel, that you saw it back in October that it was opening up in the 360 area, and then it sold it all off. And you're like, man, if that opens up in the 355 area and starts to look weak here again, it could do the same damn thing. That's exactly what it did. Opened up at three, right near the highs up there. Opened at 336, ran at 355, and then straight down a full dollar. So crazy volatility in that one.
Yeah, and if you're looking at it from the perspective of the open, 336, and then you got the move up, but once it came back down through the open, it was lights out for that issue. Just real quickly, Moscow got a nice pop out of IMMR. I just want to take a look at that. Dennis, you know what stock that is? I don't think I've ever
I
heard of
do
it.
not follow this company, Immersion Corporation. So I don't know anything about this one, but technically it was they put in the double bottom back there, 11:35, right on the button. I guess 2 days in a row. We always like seeing those formations, and then was off to the races there. So many stocks were strong yesterday, especially. Is this what kind of company is this? Let's go and
Well,
find that
maybe we'll
out.
have to Brent find out here. But Moscow, I'd like to just keep an eye on this 1250 level. You had multiple highs in that area going back in December. I see a 1258 high. Looking at the pre-market, they just spotty trades here at 1267. But if it could hold this 1250 level, it could be a major breakout here. Could make a run towards 13, but 1250 posed resistance quite a bit in November and December, so really like to see you hold that level. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to bring on Anka Metcalf of TradeOutLoud.com. I know she was making some calls last time. We'll see how they worked out for her. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you. Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Anka Metcalf on here of TradeOutLoud.com. Anka, how you doing today?
Good morning, everybody. Hi, guys. I'm doing great. It's so nice to be back here.
Okay, so we were talking about that kind of rally yesterday, and Dennis kind of got the bearish hat on yesterday. We had that big dip on Monday. Was looking at the 2 day move there. Did they scare you out of your longs on Monday, or are you one of the buy the dippers on that break?
I'm not really the buy to dippers, but there's one thing that I've learned in the last 2 months is basically, yeah, I would say rather 2 months. I'm not putting in hard stops anymore. So I'm using soft stops. So this is the one thing that I've learned from the market. So, and the market, all the dips have been bought up till now. So using soft stops, just kept me in the game.
You know what? Let me, just go over that term. I think Dennis and I have mentioned it before, but I think
Okay.
it's a good point. Could you just? And I know everyone has their own interpretation of it, but it's definitely something that if we have any novices traders in here, it's something that we should talk about. So could you give us a little more detail on that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So once I identify a setup in the market, or in any stock in the market, I position size. So basically, I look at support. So that under support, I usually place a hard stop, and I take the trade usually above resistance area, or if there's a buy setup forming in a bullish chart pattern, I take that setup. So basically, using the soft stop is basically not putting in a hard stop into the platform, but basically it allows you to position size your trade up to the support level if you're in a long position, and it truly, you're giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room. So my strategy for the soft stop, because I'm not just, if the stock starts bleeding, I'm not just gonna, you know hold on to that
Let it
stock
bleed out on you.
forever. Exactly. So I look, basically my hard stop goes back on, because and it depends on which time frame you use. For, let's say, if you take a trade on the daily chart, let's say and there's a stock in an uptrend, I position size to the support level onto the daily chart, the first support level, and I give it a little bit of wiggle room to the secondary support level on the daily chart, let's say.
Okay,
If you're in a swing trade, or if you're trading the daily chart. But it can very well be applied to the 15-minute chart if you are an intraday trader. I don't really recommend this for scalpers,
correct.
but if you're a trend trader, I definitely recommend this. And this has kept me alive these past few months.
Okay, couple points there. One, you're in front of your screen all the time, and so you can watch this, and obviously you have a feel for the market. So, I know there's some people that listen to our broadcast that are, listen to our show and then go to work or on their mobile phone. So this is something that, if you're in front of the screen and you can do it, it's, a word of caution if you're not, because you can be in for a surprise. But do you have an example of an issue that you're in yesterday that, it hit your stop area, but based on the market activity, maybe you gave it a few more minutes and then enabled you to stay in the trade? I mean, I don't know if you had one from yesterday, but I just
Or in the last few
in
days.
the last few
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Actually, I have not had anything in the last few days, and I can't really, I
Okay,
have to go through my
that's okay.
trades to see which one. But I have plenty of examples.
What position? What's a big position that you're in right now? Like, what's a stock that you like, and just like do the setup on where you would put that stop?
Well,
Like, is there something you're in
I'm
right now?
Um, well, I do have two positions right now. One of them is Cree, and I picked up Cree at $61, and I have it both for a swing and a core. So I'm looking to hold this for a longer period of time. For the swing position, I've closed right after the downgrade. So at about 40, I think it was around $64 and some change, like 10 cents or something. So
Yeah.
I got out right in time. Oh, I'm sorry. It was 65. No, it was no. It was $66.10 or something like that. And because it was right before
Big down
the
move there 2 days
downgrade.
ago. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I caught a really good, really good move on that one. But I'm still in. I'm still in for the core portion of it. I'm still looking for a $70 target on it, and even a 75 challenging the previous high and into 76. Let's say that's wishful thinking, but that truly. And I think you could tackle both ways. So if you, and speaking about the soft stops, if you really, I have a soft stop in Cree, and this is actually an example, because for the swing portion of it, I had a stop below, let's say $60 and about 60 cents. And if you look at the daily chart, right here, it just wiggled below right into the whole number. And I know you guys been talking about the whole number. Great advice for traders. It just wiggled into that $60 whole number area, and then it, popped up a little higher. So right now trading 63, about 15. So right about read about there. Let me see. I think this was one of the trades that I had a soft stop in. I'm not really sure. I just have to double check. But HPQ.
Yep.
So HPQ was a good example. I was looking at the range over $28 and about 70 cents. And I had a soft stop into the $27.40, and it just wiggled a little into $27 and about 19 cents, 20 cents into that area.
Yep.
And before it took off. So this is a good example. So you don't have to give it a lot of room. So make sure you position size. So my advice to traders, and this is, what I do, I position size to that support area and then give it a little bit of wiggle room. Or if you're a beginner trader and never traded with a soft stop, what I usually advise my traders to do is to take half of the position. Okay, so to take half the position, you basically have half the risk in play. So you don't have to worry that much, about losing more than what you really forecasted for the trade.
All right, I got an interesting one for you, and I remember we were talking about this, and this stock was on a tear and just had a wicked pullback. And Rite Aid, I mean, it went from I can't remember when you were on the show last.
I think it was around like 550 or something, and it had ran to 6 after you were on the show. How'd that one work out for you there, Rite Aid? Did you get stopped out on that one, or?
I got out of the trade at $6. That was my target.
Oh man, Anka. We're gonna have to we gotta get a seat in here for Anka, man. She nailed that thing.
Her calls seem to be 100% lately. Ours are usually around 55 or 60. She's batting 100 here.
Not really. No. I've had losers, and and I'm really, and it happens to even experienced traders. And I could give you a bad trade example.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? And trading is about losing as well. And I had a position long in Guild. This was one of my loser trades. And of course, I had a soft stop in, and then decided so it broke multiple levels of support. And it came with bad news. So I got stopped out. I decided to close that trade. So it was Guild. I took that trade. I think it was around $73 and about 50 cents or something like that. It was beginning of December. I had a stop in below $71.52, and it was a soft stop, but it just continue bleeding. It was that really bad news that came out on Guild, and you could see the 3 bars down. I have the chart right here in front of me. Okay, it was like, oh my God, it's never ending. So I stopped out of that trade. So I gave it a little bit of room all the way to about $71, and then I decided to cut the trade.
The bleeding was just too much.
Cut the bleeding. Absolutely. So things happen, and there are winners and there are losers.
What do I think of this chart now on this GILD, if you have it in front of you? What is going on at 75? Joel, have you ever seen a level that pronounced? Holy cow, that thing's like 75 is like the Rock of Gibraltar there or something. It cannot get through that level. What do you make of this chart, Anka?
Just an institution. Yeah, it's just an institution just trying
you think
to
so?
get,
You think there's some huge institution just dumping a bazillion shares there, and every time it gets up to 75, he's like, get me out of more, because it's there right now, 75.15. It's worth trading pre-market. Eventually, is this thing going to break out? This could be a huge breakout if that ever gets above 76.11.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay, I mean, Joe.
Sorry, Joe. But
Joe has a big position in this one. Joe, is that you outselling it to 75? Joe, I remember him telling me, is that stock when it was like in the 50s?
We're talking about Gilead, right?
Yeah.
I'm not selling my Gilead. That is an earner. That stock will continue to grow in value. I stake my claim.
Ooh,
Joe likes
Joe.
Gilead.
I think that
okay, when would you let's just look at a potential setup here. I know you're a momentum player and you like looking at stocks when they're moving out and breaking up to new highs. When would you become interested in this one again here, Anka?
I would like it over $76. I like to test the high. I don't want to be the guinea pig on this one. I think it has a great growth for 2014. It just needs to get over that $75.50, $76. I would like to see a breakout and then to come back, and I would like to get it on a pullback.
Gotcha. So if you broke up like $77 where you can see, okay, it's resolving itself. Now it's
Exactly.
gonna
I
give
like
you
it to
a
pop
shot
up.
come right.
Right, right,
And it
right.
gives you
And
a
then come
shot back
back,
at
test the
76 or something.
$76, form that
Gotcha.
support level right there, right above this base and right above this resistance, actually. And then, take it from there. I really love this stock. Love, love, love.
Where would you put? Let's say you did buy it in a breakout over 76, and
hmm
what kind of stop would you give yourself, and
Stop.
yeah, what would, or
I would
what
put
would your
it
target
right
be?
below 72.50.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. All those lows
Yeah.
there. Wow,
So you give yourself usually about 3 points or so. Like you're a real swing trader where you're giving
Yes.
yourself 5-6%, and that's key. And that's what we often talk about on the show too. And I'm not sure if we talked about that with you last time, but it's all about time frames here. And if you're coming in, and you're scalping, and you're
hmm
looking, just to make, be a short-term, minute-to-minute, even hour-to-hour trade, it's very difficult. There's a lot of competition in that space. Obviously, in the really short-term space, a lot of high-frequency traders you're competing with. But when you extend your time frame out to a few days or even a few weeks, and you're willing to give yourself 3, 4, 5%, the little shakeouts, the little chop that you have from all the high frequency jockeying doesn't affect you as much. And obviously, if you can just look and say, oh, I'm going to put a price target of this thing at $83, I'm going to put a stop at 72.5, I'm not going to look at it until one of those two things happen, it often works a little bit better in this environment. Would you say the same thing there, Anka?
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Okay, just let's just talk a little general market here. We've been looking at the S&Ps, just kind of range bound for majority of the year between 1820 and 1840. Through that head fake at everybody, including Dennis and I and DSW, and we broke down to 1820, and then
hmm
boom, 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 comes back up. Now we're near the upper end of the range, and right in the midst of earnings season. Are you going to play? Are you going to play the range here and be shorting in this area, or are you waiting for the breakout?
I think we're going to get a breakout. I don't know if that's, wishful thinking because I have a lot of positions long, but, it does look really bullish. And unless we have some real clues that we're going to go lower, I don't think there's a reason to short at this point. We are in a very, very bullish market, and we have to respect the market.
Okay, one sector that's been flying high is what
Jay
what do
Dot's
you?
asking about the Mary
Yeah,
Jane sector.
yeah.
Joel saying the flying high sector. There's a couple hints of where we're going.
I mean, I don't know if you. I mean, a lot of these are penny stocks.
Yeah.
What was the one that had to move up to $90? I think you were in it, J Dot. I'm trying to think of what the symbol is. It went to like 93. Is it?
All the way back down to 45.
Yeah. What's the symbol on that? Is it GR?
Mm.
Is it Green Grow? Well, anyways, I do you look at these stocks at all? It's just too much volatility for you.
Actually, they have captured my attention lately.
Short term or long term attention?
More long-term attention.
Okay.
So only 2 states have legalized it, right? So there are 48 to go.
Okay, MDBX. Thank you, J. Dot. Here's the stock that he was in, and actually we've had Alan Brockstein on, the 420 investor, and he's been all over.
Been all over it.
Yeah, been all over these stocks. But here, this thing just took off here. Is this just too volatile for you here, or would you be looking for an entry here at this $38 to $40 level and perhaps putting a stop under 30 and trying to ride it back up? Or is it, I mean, because I know you're not waiting it to break out over 95 to buy it.
No. You know what? At this point, this is too crazy for me. I'm just gonna watch it until it settles down a little bit and has a more tangible price range, so I could grasp the stop in this. But I was looking at other stocks like PHOT, I believe it is.
Okay.
PHOT. And I was even talking, and a client of mine, he called and he said, what do you think of this right here? Where should I put my stop? I'm like, what stop? It's a 20 cents. It's a 20-cent stock. Okay. 28 cents or so.
Right.
So you don't put a stop in. Okay. So if you want to risk, I don't know, $500, go ahead, position size for for this trade. and let it go. And I think it does have a great, opportunity to, to continue higher. And to be honest, I've been watching these stocks for, I would say, a couple of months. And they're very interesting. They're very, very interesting. And actually, back in 2007, I think it was 2008, I got Sirius Satellite for pennies, literally. And now,
You,
look
you,
at Sirius Satellite.
you still holding it?
No, no, no. I got out of it. I have to admit, I got out of Sirius Satellite, so I'm not holding it anymore. And I got out about $3.80 or
So you held
$3.75.
that from pennies to $3.80?
Yes, I did. I did,
Holy
actually.
cow. I've
I
never
did.
done that's unbelievable. That's an
No, and
unbelievable move.
and the reason why I hold it is because I didn't have a lot of shares.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah. Oh,
crazy.
we talk
That thing
about.
got down to like a nickel. It was a
I
nickel.
know,
February
absolutely.
2009, a nickel.
I know
Man, that's
it's those
unbelievable.
smaller trays that you hang on to. Just just a couple more here. Dennis and I guess Brent was kind of chiming in on this one. We're kind of having a bull bear debate here in Nike. Did not participate in the rally at all here. Trying to get a little of a bounce. Coming off that all-time high here. Is this something where you'd be looking for a low-risk entry here at this $75 level, and hope looking for a move back up to 77, 78, or is this just too ugly looking of a chart for you?
I would like to wait for a little bit more confirmation. The fact that the monthly chart just triggered this sell right here this month, I would wait for a little bit more confirmation. Also, I do use moving average, and I see it right here, right sitting right on the 20 period moving average, simple moving average at $75. And at the same time, if I go back in time in October, on October 28th, there's a level of support right here. So it is on support, also from, like I said, from October 28th and also from December 9th. So it's kind of like, if it doesn't hold this area, I would definitely, definitely not look to go long on it. And I think it might retrace even lower into the $70 area. So it's really a tricky, uh, um,
You're more of a
area. Yeah.
you're more of a fan when the stocks are breaking out to new highs and then pulling back, correct? Where this is kind of just something that's obviously consolidated for a long time, coming down to a long-term support trend. But you're more of a momentum player, aren't you, Anka? And this isn't
More of
that
a
much
momentum
momentum.
player. Yeah. And I like to get in with confirmation. Like right now, the daily chart, it's kind of like telling me like short, short, short.
Yeah. The
Yeah. Kind of like
75's
Target
huge.
too.
Yeah, the 75 is huge. I think I'm on board with you there too. This thing starts trading down to 74. There's not that much really until the 70 area, but 75 is support until it's broken. So you never want to. That's what I always find if I end up trying to short something too soon. Sometimes that can get you too, because then you think it's going to take out support and it doesn't, and all of a sudden you're on the wrong side of the trade. So.
Yeah, I would like to get in, with a little bit more confirmation. Usually what I do, I pick up some stocks, let's say on the 15-minute or on the 1 hour, and I usually keep a hard stop on those. I give it a little bit of wiggle room, below the stop, let's say for about 25 cents. And then, I kind of swing traded, but just with little shares. And then when I see momentum shift to the upper side, I tend to get more shares. But right now it's like looking very weak from the day trading perspective on it. I think if it trades over $75 at about 35 cents, it's good. And I think it might continue into the $76 for, let's say, for a target, and into 76.50. But we just have to see how that one plays out. But that would be a very aggressive move if you want it. I love the whole number area here that is holding. And like I said, it has a little bit of support from the weekly chart if you look to the left. And from the day perspective, you could see a little bit of a consolidation right here onto the 15-minute chart. And $75 at about 35 cents would just clear that whole resistance onto the 15-minute chart and might propel it a little bit higher. And a stop for that would be around $74 at about 60 cents.
Okay, great breakdown of that. Okay, we've had Anka Metcalf on of TradeOutLoud.com. She's a provider of trading education. I think we just got a few good lessons there from her on some good trades and some bad trades. So, Anka, great having you on the show. We appreciate you chiming in with your opinions, and I would certainly like to have you on again.
Thank you so much, guys.
Oh,
Thanks, Anka.
thanks, Anka.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we're good. Hey, Joe, you got any more fires to report at Extended Stay America?
None at this time, Joel.
Okay. Mighty Joe Young with the headlines.
Thank you very much. And listeners, be on the lookout. Anka's first piece on Benzinga.com will be appearing towards the end of January, I believe the 27th or the 31st. She'll be doing a monthly piece regarding education and things like that, most similar to what she was talking about today, so be on the lookout for that. Moving into today's headlines from around the globe, the United States has pledged $380 million in relief aid to Syrian civilians beleaguered by the civil war raging across the country, bringing the total humanitarian aid committed by the U.S. since the crisis began to $1.7 billion. Secretary of State John Kerry made the commitment at a donors conference Wednesday in Kuwait as United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon announced that 6.5 billion was needed to provide food, water, medical care, and shelter for the estimated 6.5 million civilians that have been displaced within Syria, the New York Times reports. Applications for U.S. home mortgages jumped in the latest week, extending a recovery from a 13-year low at the end of December, an industry group said on Wednesday. The Mortgage Bankers Association said its seasonally adjusted index of mortgage application activity, which includes both refinancing and home purchase demand, rose 11.9% to 386.1 in the week ending January 10th. The index hit its lowest level since December 2000 at the end of 2013, soon after the United States Federal Reserve announced it would start pulling back on its $85 billion per month bond buying program as the economy grows strong enough to stand on its own. Federal regulators on Tuesday bent to the will of the banking industry and some lawmakers and revised a rule that would have forced community banks to take write-downs on a security that many had invested in before the financial crisis. The revision to the Volcker Rule, announced late Tuesday by 5 regulatory agencies, would permit banks to continue to hold on to a special type of collateralized debt obligation. The Volcker Rule, as approved by regulators in December, would have forced banks to rid themselves of CDOs backed by trust-preferred securities, or is it TRUPS or TRUPS? I think it's an acronym. The provision set off an uproar from the banking industry, which said it violated the intent of the Volcker Rule, which was meant to rein in risk-taking by big Wall Street banks and not to result in a financial hit to smaller ones. Throughout Tuesday, Tesla denied that its Model S sedan was recalled. What some may call a recall, we call modern technology. Gillen? What's that? Guillen? Guillen said during his company's conference at the North American Auto Show in Detroit Tuesday morning. He said that the issue is a firmware update. Since no cars need to be physically changed or have to leave the garage, this should not be considered a recall. We are going to have some discussions about the appropriateness of using a word recall that has no physical sense, Guillen said. Guillen said he believes over 99% of customers have received the update. He also reiterated the safety of Tesla's vehicles. This is the safest car on the road, with 168 million miles on the road and no serious injury and no casualty. CEO Elon Musk appeared on CNBC later in the day to discuss the situation similarly. Tesla sales in the fourth quarter of 2013 were the highest in company history by a significant margin, with almost 6,900 vehicles sold and delivered. Tesla exceeded prior guidance by approximately 20%. A higher than expected number of cars was manufactured as a result of an excellent effort by the Tesla production team and key suppliers, particularly Panasonic. Charter Communications unleashed a verbal attack on the Time Warner Cable company on Tuesday, saying the cable operator's executives had failed as Charter tried to rally investors to accept its bid. Charter's top executive slammed Time Warner Cable for having the industry's lowest customer satisfaction and negative momentum. Charter argues that Time Warner Cable is better off in its hands because its management can spearhead a turnaround of its larger rival. Executives from the number 4 cable operator made these comments on a conference call a day after it launched a bid for Time Warner at $132.50 per share, consisting of around $83 per share in cash and its own stock. The deal, valued at $37.3 billion, was rejected by Time Warner Cable's board for being grossly inadequate. This negative momentum isn't simply a result of an operating plan over the last year, it is the failed plan over the past half-decade, said Charter's Chief Operating Officer John Bickham. A federal appellate court decision on Tuesday raises the prospect that Netflix and other bandwidth-hogging websites may have to pay tolls to broadband providers to ensure quality service, a change that would throw a wrench into their business models and potentially raise prices for consumers. The ruling by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia struck down the Federal Communications Commission's so-called open internet rules that had required equal treatment of internet traffic and prohibited broadband providers from blocking traffic, favoring certain sites or charging special fees to companies that account for the most traffic. Streaming video provider Netflix accounts for 32% of peak internet traffic in North America, the most of any content provider according to Sandvine, broadband services company. That has made Netflix a target for some cable industry executives who have argued the company should be subsidizing the cost of delivering its service to consumers. Apple CEO Tim Cook said on Wednesday its deal with China Mobile to offer iPhones will help bolster sales of the device that hit a record high in Greater China in the fiscal first quarter. China Mobile chairman, Zi Gua, I'm sure I did that right, said millions of Apple's iPhones already have been ordered by the carrier's customers, signaling strong demand for the service. Sales of the iPhone through China Mobile, the world's largest carrier by subscribers, are set to begin Friday. You could spell those phonetically for me so I don't embarrass myself, Shubs. Google has released Chrome version 32 or 3.2? 32 for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Will have Shubs look that one up as well. The update includes a Chrome OS style new look for Windows 8 Metro mode as well as automatic malware blocking. Users can now visually scan their tabs for a speaker icon to quickly find which one is playing music or video. Chrome was already available on Windows 8, but with the release of Chrome 32, it is 32. The new version basically looks like Chrome OS running within the Windows operating system. Instead of just the regular browser, Chrome 32's new UI and Metro mode lets users run multiple browser windows along with a shelf at the bottom of the screen where they can access a number of Google apps and services such as Gmail, Google Docs, YouTube, and Google Search. Chrome 32 also addresses 21 security issues, the usual bug fixes, and stability improvements. Holiday shoppers were more than willing to spend during the holiday season if they saw big discounts or were shopping online. Sales rose 3.8% from last year for November and December combined, according to the National Retail Federation's analysis of federal figures. That was a healthy gain in a season that kept merchants worried right up until Christmas as people held off on spending. That caution and increased online shopping made the holiday less festive at the malls. Shoppers stayed away from many traditional destinations like department stores and electronics stores. The sales increase came in just shy of the trade group's forecast of a 3.9% gain. It was better than the 3.5% increase in 2012 and the 3.3% average for the past 10 years. And today's trivia tidbit. On this day in 1967, the Green Bay Packers of the National Football League smashed the American Football League's Kansas City Chiefs 35-10 in the first ever AFL-NFL World Championship, later known as Super Bowl Uno, number 1. For those of you that don't speak Spanish, that's Super Bowl 1. At Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles, there were 2 series premieres of note. ABC sitcom Happy Days, which was spun off from a segment on Love American Style in 1974, and NBC crime solver Hill Street Blues in 1981. Happy Days aired for 10 and 1/2 seasons and 255 episodes, while Hill Street Blues won 26 Emmy Awards in its 6 and 1/2 season run. That wraps it up for today's editorial headlines. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that the show would not be possible without our dear friends at OptionsHouse that will give you 150 commission-free trades just for signing up for an account through this page. There's buttons at the top, at the bottom right. Go ahead and make a click. Go over to OptionsHouse, sign up for an account, and get 150 commission-free trades just because you listen to Benzinga's pre-market info. And that'll do it for me, and I'm going to take a gander around
Joe,
here.
what's for lunch today?
Lunch.
Well, last night after we left the office, I took Bruce up to Buddy's for pizza. And
Buddies.
Dina came up because he was starting to think she wasn't real because he hadn't met her yet. So the three of us enjoyed some of Buddy's famous antipasta salad and a large Sicilian pie.
Well, you know why I'm mentioning.
Mama.
You know why I'm mentioning lunch.
Because of Buffalo
You
Wild
owe
Wings.
us?
Yeah, Joe owes me lunch.
You
I
know
thought
what,
I
though?
thought this was a news desk wide thing.
No, it was not.
It was
And,
142.
Now I have to look at
it was
Buffalo Wild Wings. But you know, Joel, we also didn't set. I see it at 144.
No, we said 142 versus 152.
But we didn't set a time on it. Like, it would have had to be a date, which I was putting the ending date as the Super Bowl.
Oh, you guys.
So it was.
You only did over under. We
You know, hey, this
you
isn't-
didn't establish.
What
you
am I
can't
gonna
just-
do with you guys?
This
can't
isn't
just wait
Nadex.
until-
This
no,
isn't
no, no.
Nadex, Joe.
This
You can't put a time.
This bet could
Dennis,
have
could
been
you
open.
get on, please, and
This
tell
bet could
him
have been open
that
for like
Dennis,
10 years before it hit one of those
Dennis,
numbers, man.
Could you come on and tell him that it's with the way we do
Dennis
our
is going to
bets?
side with me because
No,
you're
he's
always
not.
changing the parameters of the bet, and
No,
he
it
will
was-
attest to that.
No, it's not. We said 142 versus 152. It was trading at 147. It traded at 140, and I almost acknowledged that you won when it got up to 151.67.
But that wouldn't have been right because the Price is Right
Oh,
rules. You
okay.
can't guess over.
Nadex, brought to you by Joe Young. You can make up your own contracts, your own expirations, your own rules.
Yeah, well,
Joe-
if Joel sends you a contract in a Google Doc, don't sign it because you can make live changes that'll affect it no matter what. So, I think we need to reevaluate what the parameters of this bet were, and Dennis can get involved because I think he'll side with me.
Wow.
So, anyways, I'm gonna lob this one up. Who's taking it from me? You over there, Brent?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, Brent, how's
Hey.
it going, man?
That was fun.
Good.
I like that. Well, it makes for good TV, you know.
We're getting that in here soon. Jason said he's going to be hooking us up with the studio.
Heck
soon,
yeah, he is.
Awesome.
So they can see your mustache and see what a stud I am.
Yep. This is gonna happen. All the fans out there, this is gonna happen. All right, let me hit you with some of the top upgrades and downgrades this morning. Didn't get a ton of time to talk about those this morning. Usually, devote a little bit of time to the upgrades, downgrades. Had a lot of other news this morning. Taking a look at the Benzinga Pro calendar, I am looking at, we got around 15 upgrades this morning, around 25 downgrades, so a rather notable number of more downgrades this morning. But first, let's start with the upgrades. Pacific Crest issuing a bit of a pair trade this morning. They upgraded Western Digital to outperform. They did downgrade Cirrus Logic, that is Charlie Romeo Uniform Sandy, to underperform, slapping the equivalent of a sell rating on that name. Intel received an upgrade at BMO Capital, firm now rating that stock with an outperform rating and $31 price target. BMO had previously had around a $21 price target on shares of Intel.
Who got that right yesterday? Someone, was it Morgan Stanley?
Yesterday.
Someone. I know that was a long time ago, but
Goldfish memory.
someone mentioned that yesterday, and we had talked about the pre-market high was 26.20. You had a high at the 26.10 area. It busted out through there. Just if you don't like to trade the hot rod, this AMD. We were talking about this, weren't we, Jakey? We were talking about it breaking out above 430 here. So, if you don't want to buy the Intel, maybe that AMD is finally going to get to $5.
Actually, it was J.P. Morgan who had the Intel
Okay.
upgrade
I knew there was
yesterday.
a Morgan
Yep.
in there. Yep.
Good
okay.
call. So we did have an upgrade on shares of Comcast this morning. Morgan Stanley raising that name from equal weight to overweight, boosting the price target from $50 to $63, getting about a 30-cent pop in shares of Comcast this morning. That's not the move that I would have expected coming from Morgan Stanley, being one of the top-tier firms. Let's move on to some of the downgrades. Seeing two downgrades on shares of PetSmart. We were highlighting this one a little bit earlier. That is Papa Echo Tango Mike getting a downgrade over at UBS and also at Credit Suisse. Both firms moving to the sidelines on that one. Cantor Fitzgerald downgrading shares of Ritchie Brothers Automotive, Romeo Bravo Alpha to sell this morning. Then also over at BMO, firm downgrading. Regeneron Pharma, Romeo Echo, Golf November to market perform. That stock, let me pull up the chart on Regeneron really quickly. Had a big run up yesterday. It was up about 12% yesterday. You might actually want to take a look at this one, Joe, real quick. REGN.
Regeneron.
Good old Regeneron. It looks like 270. Area of significance there.
Yeah, I mean these
Now that's a bounce, right?
oh man, these stocks are tough here. Had the big move yesterday up to the $300 level, and traded back down a little bit in the pre-market. I was not sure what your news was, but look in this. Let's keep an eye on that high from yesterday, and of course a nice round number like 300. You got up to a 304.42 yesterday. Close below it here, so let's see how that whole $300 level is protected today by sellers. A couple closes over 300, and you can make another leg up. But just no traders that this stock was back up in this quadrant back on November 5th and November 6th at 304.85 and 305.67, a little bit above the resistance that we hit yesterday.
So everyone's watching this JP Morgan Healthcare Conference right now. If you're in the healthcare sector, if you're trading anything pharma, this is the talk right now. I believe today is the last day of that conference. You've been seeing comments coming out of all the names in the pharma space, and that's what happened yesterday at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. Regeneron issuing a bit of guidance for EYLEA and surging 12%. Moving on. Let's see, Goldman Sachs downgrading shares of Hertz this morning. They are moving the rating from buy to neutral, and then D.A. Davidson this morning downgrading shares of Foster Wheeler to neutral. Did have a number of new coverages on the media sector from a firm Nomura. Let me click to this one really quickly. A couple of highlights there. They started Pandora with a neutral rating and $35 price target. They started Twitter with a neutral rating and $60 price target. They started Facebook with a buy rating and $65 target. What else is good here? Netflix with a neutral and $360 target. Google at buy with a $1,300 target.
Wow.
And maybe one more. Yahoo also with a neutral rating, and they see the price around $40. Couple of earnings I'd like to really quickly preview tonight. Heads up, we got CSX. Watch the railroad space on those earnings. Those stocks tend to trade pretty closely together. Thursday, that's tomorrow, we're going to get earnings out of Intel, out of Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, American Express, and then getting into some of the regional banks, BB&T, PNC. Moving on to Friday, we're going to get earnings out of GE. We're going to get earnings out of Morgan Stanley, Comerica, and Schlumberger, moving into that energy space. And then really quick next week, heads up for earnings in J&J, eBay, Netflix. You guys were just talking about AMD. They're expected to report on Tuesday of next week, I believe. Continuing this list, Western Digital, Verizon, Brinker International, F5 Networks, SanDisk, Halliburton, Delta Air. I got a few more. U.S. Bancorp, Abbott Labs, St. Jude, and Stryker all reporting next week, and a whole bunch of other earnings that will be coming out next week. The news desk is going to be hot next week. We're going to be real busy here on the BZ News Desk.
Hot? Would you say that the news desk will be on fire?
We could say that. Yeah. If you want to, Joe. If you want to say that.
Topical, just point.
Oh, I get it. The hotel.
Just
like
trying to
yeah.
bookend the show. Just trying to bookends. That's all.
Now I get it. I mean, it took a little bit. So what do we got, Joel? We got about 3-4 minutes ahead of the bell.
Yeah. Well, you grab Shaky Jake here. I'm gonna go over a couple stocks here brought up in the chat room. Violin maker. We were talking about this GILD, Gilead Sciences. And boy, oh boy, I mean, if you talk about well-defined resistance here at the $75 level, someone's just been trying to take off a piece there. It's just, in and around that number. Now you're getting a pop up in the pre-market here. Not really, blowing people away here, but it is breaking above here. So if you want to, try and wiggle in at the $75 level, I don't think I'd fall in love with it. It fell down to 74.60 or 70, but I tell you, if they cleared that seller out of there, there could be some room on the upside here. The all-time high above the $76 level, that would be 76.11. And Mosca, they started Netflix with a neutral, so I don't really construe that as bad news. Just got if you're holding on to this thing long term here, boy, that 330 level's holding up. The last three lows between 330.53 and 332.57. Area to cover is short. I don't know if I'd be sticking my nose out to go long here, but 330 a key level in Netflix. So now we got Jake. Jake was laughing when Joe and I were having that argument, and so now we got on and. Jake always comes up. He does his hard work over there on the desk and comes out with like these obscure stocks. So what do you got for us today?
I'm looking at the list. I don't think there's any that are too obscure this morning. Real quick, did you see that Wisconsin lost to Indiana last night?
Yes, I did.
So now there are only two undefeated teams in Big Ten play right now.
And they both reside in
the state of Michigan.
Exactly.
So.
And I was watching the Michigan game. Well, actually, you got to love the Big Ten channel because they do Big Ten Elite.
Mm-hmm.
And before the Michigan game, they did the 1997 Michigan football team. And then I watched the entire basketball game. And then afterwards, they did Big Ten Elite, and they did the 1989 basketball team. And Lisa was looking at me, and she was like, where do you find these things? I mean, it was like 4.5 hours of sports, and then we also had to cancel our Saturday night plans because Michigan plays Wisconsin at Wisconsin Saturday night at 6.
The Wisconsin schedule is ridiculous because you guys don't get to play them at home, we don't get to play them at home, and Ohio State doesn't get to play them at home. They don't play basically anybody hard on the road. It's kind of crazy. That should be interesting. Moving away from college basketball, as much as I'd love to talk that for 30 minutes, we do have some stocks on the move this morning I want to kind of go over. Start up with teen retailer Aeropostale. It's Alfa Romeo Oscar for anybody following along on their own charts. There's some chatter going around on the company that they may be seeking a sale. I mean, they've been absolutely getting crushed the last, let's say, 3-4 months. I mean, the whole year's been pretty bad for them, but specifically over these last couple months. Shares are up over 6% this morning on this news. It's not, I don't know if it's necessarily news or if it's more of a rumor, but it's enough to get the stock moving and maybe give it a little bit of a floor. What do you think of Aeropostale here?
Who would want to buy it?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's going to be a consolidation of all these teen retailers that seem to be the same thing. Like, I don't understand the difference between Abercrombie, Aeropostale, and American Eagle. They all seem the same to me. I mean, maybe I just haven't looked close enough, or maybe I just don't want to venture into the body spray zone, as they're spraying that, low quality cologne outside of their store windows or whatever. But I don't know. They all seem like they're kind of the same to me, so maybe they could all just consolidate into one company.
I mean, when you talk about when there's rumors of things like this, I mean, you got to be careful playing it from the short side. So it did open up at 821, made an 821 high, peeling back. So I wouldn't get real interested on the long side until it went back through that opening stanza. Double bottom at 762 and 766. So when there's kind of chatter out, people have been obviously a lot of money sitting on a lot of shorts here. You hear that kind of chatter, you got to imagine that there'll be some bids out there. I mean, why would you, if you've been riding this thing down from 1050 back in mid-November, and then you hear this kind of stuff, whether or not it comes to fruition, Momo players are going to be hopping in on this thing. So I think just back and fill on this one.
Yeah, I wonder, I'm kind of looking at some of the other teen retailers right now, seeing if they're getting anything off of it. Not really, though. American Eagle's up to 0.3%, so nothing crazy. So just kind of wanted to take a look at that real quick. Another one that we saw a lot of strength in yesterday was Tesla. Obviously, North American International Auto Show is running right now. So you're any company that's involved in the auto industry whatsoever, you're going to get some interesting comments. You're going to get a lot of the executives that are there. Elon Musk was on CNBC at 4 p.m. I didn't think he said a whole lot. He said there's a right-hand drive version of the Model S coming out in April, so they're going to be able to start selling in Europe more effectively soon. Says they're planning on keeping Tesla independent, so not looking for any buybacks. Just kind of browsing through the comments right now. He also mentioned that earlier in the day that he wanted to recall the recall. That was technically the wrong term to use. That seemed to be giving some fuel to the fire. In general, the company did offer some fourth quarter guidance. Maybe guidance isn't the right word, but like not necessarily specific metrics, but they were going over some stuff in the morning, and that really got shares running. So we got a lot of the strength yesterday. Was it almost a 20% rally yesterday, and now we're up again another 5% today.
Yeah, I was looking at this one yesterday, and it gave you a chance to buy this thing under 140. Two sessions in a row, 137.82 and 136.67, and then just got the pop up here. Kind of hard, opened up and rallying over the 170 level. I think I'm going to have to go to a longer term chart here. That's really not going to state it very well, but we did have a long consolidation period between 160 and 170, maybe represented there, and then it broke above to the high and came down, spent a little time in that 160, 170 area before. So not a big fan of it just gapping up here at the 170, maybe using this as a target on the long side here. Kind of like to see it. It's tough now. Still wish I had my 130 calls, so I took a shot on, but that's what happens when you play the weeklies.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a crazy stock. Interesting to see it coming back into like the 170 range now. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's a fun one to watch. Just like Twitter, it's all over the place. Except I guess I'm a fan of both the company's products too. So fun one to watch. Kind of interesting to see it come back into play a little bit here.
Just want to follow up on the Fords here. The auto show seems to be shrugging off this GM news here, and Kyle's been talking. I think Kyle owns like 1 million shares or something like this, because he was like in the chat room every day. What's it gonna do? What's it gonna do? And it just kind of, he had that gap area down, and it just kind of took a 1 day down to take the gap up, but it's taken 4 days back up to fill the gap. Getting pretty close to that level right now. Yesterday's high was 1649 or 1643. We hit 1649. Need to go to, I believe, 1666 to fill the gap. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have my open book open, but maybe there's a big seller lurking around there at 1650 is kind of keeping the lid on this.
For those of you just tuning in, some of the news yesterday on General Motors is the company did declare a 30-cent per share quarterly dividend. That is a new dividend, and so on this issue, it's the first time there's been a dividend since basically the bankruptcy. So that's big news for General Motors. And then they released some guidance this morning that appears to be kind of disappointing traders, and so it gave up all those gains and is actually down a little bit. Gulf Mike is a ticker there for anybody following along on their own charts. Was it down about 1.25% or so? I can grab some of that specific guidance. Company expects to spend $1.8 billion on common stock dividends. Expecting to open up 4 new plants in China through 2015. But basically, they are guiding, modest growth for the auto industry for 2014. Nothing that people are really excited about. Sees modest share increase in U.S. and Europe. I think a lot of traders were hoping for a little bit more than that. So a lot of those gains were given up from the dividend announcement, and then obviously a little bit of a dip this morning below $40, which is really interesting.
This is an interesting chart here because Dennis noticed that monster pre-market volume in this. So someone's making a stand here at the 39.50 level. We got down to 39.27 in the pre-market. I've only been able to hit 39.47 so far in this session. So I don't know if you're looking for a swing trade here. It looks like a major buyer here at 39.50.
So that kind of knocks out a lot of the auto names right now. I do want to kind of go over a couple of the companies that reported earnings this morning because I feel like we have to touch on them. Bank of America being the top name there, reporting fourth quarter EPS of 29 cents versus 27 cent expected. Revenues coming in at $21.49 billion versus expected $21.28 billion. So Bank of America, Bravo, Alpha, Charlie, for anyone following along on their own charts, looks like this financial name is doing fairly well. What do you think of Bank of America here?
In the pre-market, let's see, we had one spike high in the pre-market up to 17.34. have not been able to hit that level yet here in the regular session, 1732. So let's just keep an eye on that. I mean, it's minor resistance, but certainly opened up. You even bought this thing on the gap up off the open, 1723 open, 1717 low. So if you're playing this for a day trade, you really want to see that 1717 hold up as the low of the day.
So, definitely want to keep an eye on the financials. As you guys may remember, we have another couple big financials coming tomorrow, including Goldman Sachs and Citi.
Ooh.
We do have GE on Friday. I know GE is not exactly a financial, but they do have a financial arm, and big conglomerate there. We also have Intel tomorrow morning. So, a lot of big names coming out this week, giving us some clues of what this earnings season may end up looking like. So, I want to take a look at those.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to hop into Goldman Sachs real quick. I'm
Yeah,
most interested in seeing where they're going to go.
We don't talk about that stock very much. I mean, we certainly talk about their upgrades and their downgrades and their reputation.
I mean, best in breed for investment banking there.
Yeah,
So.
and they made some great calls here. So let's. I used to trade the stock when it was 70, 80. I even traded it when it was $100 stock, and you traded in teenies. You could had pretty good liquidity. My all-time favorite trades in that one, but we don't have time for that right now. But looking at it on the daily chart here, bumping up against a little bit resistance here. Made a 178.99 high, and we may had a high of 179.08 on the 9th. So perhaps a little position squaring here at the 179 level. Also had a 78.90 high. So 179, real good resistance, at least in today's session. Coming back on the downside, we bounced off 177 because of the small market. Don't see anything there, but you do have a double bottom at 175.69 and 71. So if you're looking to cover short ahead of earnings, maybe hope that you get back down to that 175.70 level. We'll split those two numbers. And Jake, have you seen anything on STSX?
STXX, hold on.
I don't even know what that is. What is that one?
We are looking at, let me see, STSX,
Yeah.
Sandy Tango, Sandy X-Ray.
Sandy Tango, X-Ray Sandy. Yep.
Oh, X-Ray Sandy. Okay, my
Yeah.
my bad.
All right, let's take a look at this one. This
Stereo taxis. I've never.
what is that? Taxis that have music?
Designs, manufactures cardiology instrument control system in the United States and internationally. Its products include the Niobe ES robotic magnetic navigation system. Oh, this is for catheter use. I wonder if
Is this related to the ISRG news?
it may be. Let me dig in a little bit here.
Okay.
It very well could be. I guess there's a positive Seeking Alpha article supposed to be coming yesterday at 2 p.m., but I didn't see anything past that, so it could be something on that. Kind of digging down here.
Okay, let me just take a look at the technicals. You did have a gap up on daily charts here. Not much of a had a big move yesterday. That was your cue yesterday. You're getting some follow through with your Momo players here. You got a 528 low or open, 525 low. So if you're playing this for on the upside as a day trade, do not want to see it go back down and take out that low of 5 1/4. This is a little bit of a wild child here. Really no clear resistance here in the 550s, 560s, 570s. You got to go all the way up to 624. That's the October 24th high. Just look for size there if anybody's trying to sell it all. And look at ISRG. I know that they're ISRG. This one, I remember it had the big move up, and then it took the day off. Kind of came back down to the $400 level, and then they came out with some good news yesterday. I can't remember the news on all these stocks. Had a big spike up. And I know yesterday it came back down here to the $400 level, so this thing's been all over the place.
Yeah, so basically it was a Seeking Alpha article. I'm looking at it right now. It was titled Undervalued Robotic Medical Play versus Peers, a Look Back and a Look Ahead, Perhaps Potential M&A Scenarios. Basically, they're outlining a bunch of possible scenarios where this company could get acquired. They were comparing it what was the other small company they're comparing it to? Basically they're comparing it to some of the small players in the space that Intuitive Surgical actually bought. They're thinking that an
Okay.
Intuitive Surgical competitor would buy this company in a similar fashion to try and compete with Intuitive Surgical. So it looks like that's giving it a little bit of a boost. This guy only has 46 followers, but he wrote quite a long article. It's 4 or 5 pages long, and it's dominating the Yahoo Finance news area, which actually, a lot of people look at those pages. So
Okay,
that
there you
could be
go.
some exposure.
Nice catch, Jake. I mean, you brought in the entire industry. He brought in Seeking Alpha. He brought in Yahoo Finance.
That's what we got to do on the news
I
desk.
mean,
Look at all the
Jesus
sources.
Murphy. I mean, if you guys are not paying attention to Shaky Jake here, I don't know what you're paying attention to. I know it's not Joe Young.
Well, I guess we probably should hop
I
in.
wasn't listening. When I missed.
Of course not, or else we would have gotten a little quip back.
Coffee break again.
Another company that reported earnings this morning was Fastenal. Ticker is FAST. Foxtrot Alpha, Sandy Tango. EPS came in at 33 cents, missing the expected 35 cents. Revenues coming in at 813.8 million versus expected 816.62 million. Not a whole lot of news came out after that. The only analyst rating we had recently was an upgrade from William Blair back on December 6th. So not a whole lot going on since then. Fastenal kind of missing the objectives there.
Okay, looking at Fastenal here, you made a 45 and a quarter low here during the regular session. That took out the pre-market low as well. But looking back at the dailies, I mean, you could make a case that it is coming into support here, as you had a low at 45.43 on the 8th of January, another low at 45.40. It's kind of hanging here, but it's not bouncing out of here. So I think you have to play it. I mean, if I was short this thing coming home, overnight, and it's got this kind of windfall, I'd be keeping a real close eye on this area. The longer it hangs here and doesn't pop back up, then you got to be a little bit worried that it's going to crash to this $45 level, and you have a low at 44.01 on December 20th.
Well, Joel, I mean, it's already 9:45. I can't believe it. So I don't know if you want to give us a quick rundown of what you're thinking for the markets today, but I don't think we really have any time for other movers. So what are you thinking for the S&Ps today?
Well, first of all, we are at the the upper end of this trading range that basically has held up for the entire year, except for that breakdown that we had on Monday. The buy the dippers bought the dip, brought it back up to this level. We have hit 1839.50. Really only two levels on the upside besides what we've established so far in the market. 1839.50 was the high today. You had a high for the year at 1842.50 and the all-time high at 1846.50. Before we close out the show, want to congratulate Robert M., who got my trivia question right. Maybe if he sends an email to Jake at benzingapro.com, we can hook him up with a 2-week free trial. Is that okay, Joe? Is that okay, Jake?
Yeah. Hey, maybe we can even do 3 weeks, right?
Okay, Robert M., do you got that? Are you still on, Robert M.? Can you message to us real quick? Are you still here? If not, we'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good trading day, folks. Thanks for participating, and we will talk to you tomorrow.